Fist front, true believers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And in 2012, 6 heroes, after many marvelous films of build-up, were assembled to stop an alien invasion. This initiative was called the Avengers.
And after the massive success of that team-up, those mastermind movie makers decided to take on a sequel that's hype cannot be measured on any scale known to mankind. Following suit, they started Phase 2.
Now that Phase 2 nears a close, we're going to reflect on just how far Earth's mightiest years have come along. On this marvelous age of Ultron. I'm not kissing you. I had to throw that in. How you doing, BlueDragonFive?
I'm well.
All right. Guess what, BlueDragonFive? Guess what?
Oh, what?
That's what.
Oh,
That's what.
that's a thing of beauty.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It is here. Like, in 24 hours, we will be, like, in the thick of Age of Ultron. Oh, it is just ridiculous. We have hyped ourselves up all week, BlueDragonFive, and now let's quickly get into the final topic on our marvelous road to Ultron.
Sure. So, folks, we've noticed kind of a trend in Marvel's, like a lot of interconnectivity, kind of the root of our series. You're just seeing the progression of things. We can't really move forward into the past, into like the change in status quo that will indubitably come with Age of Ultron, but we should really circle back to see how things truly began and see how history has a habit of repeating itself within the Marvel Universe and how it has ramifications for the present, and especially where we're going in Ultron. So we're exploring the 40s Marvel Universe and beyond.
And beyond.
And the thing with the
I really felt this was an appropriate marvelous road to Ultron on, because these are really the people, the founding fathers of the entire Marvel, at least the entire Avengers initiative, if you will.
Exactly. One of the best things about it's amazing. Like we've seen this year with the Agent Carter show, it just really kind of and with First Avenger too. We have just seen the 40s Marvel Universe is so immersive. It feels like classic. Like it has this classic cinematic vibe, and it shows you this glorious universe of untapped potential this the Marvel Universe has. I mean, it's tapped in, and when we love it, when we see it, just explored, it has so much potential. It's seeing how interesting they can make the 40s, just make you want to revisit it over and over again. And this is just the 40s. I mean, they have just even hints of other eras that makes you want to explore that vision of Marvel. We saw like a glimpse of the, we're going to see a glimpse of the, I believe the 50s or definitely the 60s. In Ant-Man, it's going to be really interesting to see.
Oh yeah, that's looming in the distance for sure.
So you got a little glimpse of the kind of the late 60s, early 70s with Iron Man 2. So, I mean, you see a glimpse of that. It makes us just speculate on all the wondrous stuff that must have happened then.
So we're going to kind of quickly go through all the, all the players in the 1940s universe, albeit Captain America or Iron Man related or what have you, and kind of break it all down. So where do you want to start, BlueDragonFive?
Sure. Well, like our big staples in the 40s Marvel Universe, like the big reason we kind of really gravitate towards it, the 4 reoccurring things that shape the entire universe as a whole would be the SSR, which eventually becomes S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, the reason for the SSR, the scientific. Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
Basically the answer to the Nazi Science Division, the American Science Division, the SSR, and then there's Hydra. And of course, big pillar that kind of sparked all the first hero in the Marvel Universe, Dr. Erskine, played by Stanley Tucci.
Yes.
And of course,
I only know him as Stanley Tucci or Uncle Ben. I'm sorry.
And of course, the wonderful, the incomparable Howard Stark. But of course, let's get into our main, one of the best female characters in all of the Marvel Universe, Agent Peggy Carter.
All right, so yeah, as you guys know, me and BlueDragonFive, we did a whole episode per episode breakdown of Agent Carter. I definitely, I was less on board with it than you were at first, BlueDragonFive, but I think quickly, like by the 5th or 6th episode, you really got me into it. So I don't know. Obviously, we don't really have time to like break down and give us like the entire beat-by-beat synopsis of what happens on that show. But what are some of the highlights you want to mention?
Well, first we should talk about kind of what got her to that show. Let's talk about just the character in general. She's kind of like the Rosie. I kind of equate her to being like kind of the Rosie the Riveter of the Marvel Universe.
That's a very good comparison. Yeah.
It's like we see just in First Avenger, we got kind of some background artists. So we saw just kind of the sparks relationship between her and Cap. Before that, we had just when he sees her kind of laid out there when she's she's like addressing the men and lined up. She punches a guy out right there. That's his first impression of her. But
of course, she has that moment that was actually in the first Cap trailer where where Cap's holding up the shield. He's like, "What do you think?" And then she's just like, "Bam, bam, bam." I think it works.
So we see it's kind of exposited that she earned her way to the field agent status in this military Project Rebirth. Rebirth is essentially that's what the military operation is specifically. The SSR is, to my knowledge, I'm speculating on this. It's the government organization we see in Agent Carter, but then when a war is going on, the thing kind of spawned. It was the Project Rebirth, which is kind of the war division of it. She is kind of the field agent status that she achieved through a lot of hard work and probably string pulling, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So then she meets Steve Rogers, and I think overall, just discussing the dynamic between us, so I think she's really impressed. What it boils down to, I think she's really impressed by his determination, and I think she's just also charmed by kind of his naivete, just kind of pure honesty, and how genuine this guy is.
Oh, I absolutely think that's the case, and I think that's why all of us kind of fell in love with Steve Rogers in the original Captain America.
Of course, because even in that bit where he pulls out the thing for the flag and he gets to ride with her, she's a little smirk of like, "Huh, this guy's clever. I like him." And of course, huge moment later on. We've talked in excess about. We won't spend a lot of time on just he the grenade for her. I mean, come on, if that's not love, I don't know what is, folks.
Exactly.
So, just basically in First Avenger, we see this genuine, really fantastic. Out of all the Marvel relationships, probably the best one. Don't get me wrong, Tony and Pepper, they got some good stuff going on, but this one takes the cake, hands down. It was the bond.
I might have to think about that, but yeah, I do think you're probably onto that.
After seeing where it goes in Agent Carter, how can I doubt it? I mean, just seeing this bond and romance kind of develop here, it's a really.
And it's so tragic because it's like the actual amount of time they got together was so brief.
And of course, we should probably discuss kind of the big kind of the most romantic running gag in all of the cinematic universe, kind of the dancing runner. So so it's really kind of sweet that in the car, like when they're heading down, it's funny in the final moments of Skinny Steve Rogers, they're kind of having this human moment of like just kind of getting to know each other. And like they're in the car, he's mentioning, oh, I got beat up in that alley, you don't have to fight. You can't let the bullies win. You can't run away scared. It lets them win. And in
that's not character development, I don't know what is.
Yeah. and also it's like in this scene, it's kind of established that I don't know, this is the longest conversation I've ever had with a woman. It says, well, it's finding like the right dance partner. Like, no girl wants to dance with a guy who she probably step on. Well, maybe you haven't found a proper dance partner. And the runner is like, as they grow closer, it's like a whole, like, you and I were going to have that date one day. We're kind of caught up in all this war stuff right now. But, eventually you and I will have that dance. And of course, the tragic payoff ultimately with that. But we'll get to that one millisecond.
Okay.
She. I think the big thing with her up to the big tragic finale is that we see her really motivate Steve. Because after Steve becomes Captain America, there's that moment after the wonderful propaganda scene. You and I both
awesome.
Yeah, beyond awesome.
Star-Spangled Man
with the plan. Anyway, so after that, we have this moment where he's just kind of we know Steve Rogers. We love this guy. He's doing anything he can to help out the cause, even though he's not satisfied with. And she's calling him on. Yeah, you got tons of potential. Ernst can saw potential in you. You're kind of living up to it, man.
He's just sitting in the back, kind of doodling a very ironic sketch.
Yeah, I love the idea that Cap can draw. By the way, I wish they'd bring that back.
I know, yeah.
but seriously, she kind of motivates. She just kind of calls him on. You're capable of much more than this. What am I supposed to do? Is like what the senators and everything's done. But don't trailblaze here, man. Essentially, then of course,
you're right. She's really kind of like the big motivator of the Captain America character. Like she sees the potential that Steve Rogers has to kind of ascend into that higher level. Whereas Steve in the Captain America getup, he's still kind of like uncomfortable and unsure of himself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I love just the simple, call me sappy or not, but I just love just the simple age. Whenever she looks at Steve Rogers, she sees skinny Steve Rogers. She doesn't see like the tall Captain America. She sees a kid. That's just visually this with that grand Alan Silvestri music cue at the end of one of the first Avengers. She's looking at that photograph and just like that music is playing. Then we see the trash can lid. Oh my god, beautiful moment. Anyway, but leading up to that moment, we have the ultimate kind of payoff, the tragic payoff, the tragedy of this romance. And
again, we've talked like ad nauseum about this.
But just boiling down to the essentials,
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself to take down Hydra once and for all, save millions of lives, especially in New York. Again, Captain America, big ties in New York, being a kid from Brooklyn, just simple kid.
Of course. That's going to tie in beautifully to the ending of Carter.
Of course, and basically, he takes the ship, down, and eventually get him frozen. Just 70 years in between these two lovers, but still, just the idea that, she's on the intercom with them, just like saying, "Please, we'll get Howard. There's still time." He says, "No, Peggy, there's not time. I gotta." There's there a lot of people are gonna get hurt. So the idea that towards the end, she's just consoling him because she knows that he's done for. This is it, and she's like, "Well, don't forget, don't you dare be like just that." It's like that denial of the true harsh facts.
Yeah, it's very human. It's very human.
They know what's coming, but they're just convincing themselves like a happy life that will never be. It's so heartbreaking.
Well put.
But there's a little bit of comedy in there too. I still know how to dance. I'll teach you. Oh my god, Haley Atwell again. Oh, she's fantastic. Oh god, I'm gonna cry if I talk about her too much. But anyway, getting to Agent Carter. So basically, following that tragedy, it makes sense. She would have some bit of stress, like not post-traumatic stress per se, but still she is deeply affected by the loss of her beloved Steve Rogers.
Yeah, it's just kind of like in the way that I feel like a lot of Agent Carter. Remind me, was Agent Carter like? Were people talking about Captain America a lot in that show?
Well, they would mention it, but never by name. They would just kind of mention like the captain, and basically, so she was the idea with Carter in this show with Captain America is that she is kind of treated as kind of like a widow or a relic. Like they took her
right, yeah,
exactly. For Captain America, like she was again. They're really cruel to her in that Agent Carter series at first. So they mention like she serviced the captain. She served under the captain. Ha 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 ha. Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right. In those first few episodes, it was a very, very subversive kind of show, just for the the overt kind of like realistic sexism that portrayed. And that was really the strongest thing that show had going for it, I think. And what made that show even stronger was the fact that by the end of the series, they made every single one into those sexist pigs into a genuine and likable character.
Exactly. And again, she first wasn't treated like an agent at all, and then she just, in the end, she showed them all up and kind of got their sexism kind of barriers down a little bit. Of course, it doesn't completely get cured at the end there, but still, they realize like they're aware of things now. Of course, there's some sacrifice in there. Like some of them didn't make out so well, like maybe Krasinski.
Oh, we miss Krasinski. He was gone too soon.
But again, so she gets an opportunity in Agent Carter to. So she hasn't really done anything since the end of the war. Like there was a big bit in. She has one scene in Agent Shield where she gets the kind of. It's kind of a poignant moment where she kind of her last moments in the field, last moment of the war is like she's basically sealing up all, like some Hydra weapons and artifacts. And with the Howling Commandos, that's kind of her last adventure before she's kind of chained to a desk as a secretary, as we see here. So here we her she's kind of living this kind of like she's a secretary when she's much more than that. And then she is approached by Howard Stark with the opportunity to clear his name for a mission, which is, well, look, Peg, they're wasting your potential over there, similar to how she's kind of growing Cap, so a little bit of parallel in there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I love how Howard Stark is kind of like just the, I don't know, I do feel like he's the glue in between the first and second generation Marvel characters. You know what I mean?
The Stark family is the glue of the Marvel universe. It literally builds upon it. So the Stark name is integral to the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, definitely.
Of course, of course.
And so they basically, she gets a second lease, so getting down the field. She does a lot. Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of selfishness there. I'm not saying it's bad selfishness. I'm saying on some level, it's like I can be useful. I can do this. And of course, being that I'm going to clear Stark's name because obviously he's not guilty, but no one's going to believe him because they're pig-headed men who aren't thinking of all the facts here. He's going with like their guts.
Well, yeah, that's you hit it right on the head there. She just thinks in terms of what she really wants is she just wants to kind of prove these pig-headed doofuses right, you know,
exactly.
or wrong.
Wrong, yeah,
wrong.
Yeah, wrong. And then, of course, through her adventures of investigating, which again we get some great kind of investigative stuff, which I love, like her like going undercover and just using all her really cool spy tricks and everything through her misadventures and her journeys here. She meets her great ally, who's going to be a huge kind of role in the Marvel Universe, Jarvis, Edwin Jarvis, who we get to see live in person. We'll get to him a little more in depth in a moment, but the point is that these two become really good friends. And you basically, by the end of things, after like at first she's a little skeptical of the guy. By the end, she's like, these two would do anything for each other. They're the best of pals.
Which is really funny considering how they first met. But yeah,
it's just first met just pretty much just because apparently Howard and Jarvis, they really coordinate on like how to approach her without seeing.
No, it was a bad plan. It was a bad plan.
And I like how just by the end we see the progression of that, so it's understood. Well, yeah, we really planned that better. So then let's talk about some of her other dynamics. So kind of with our pig-headed men who did kind of evolve. We got the least pig-headed of which being Sousa, who kind of like a war veteran who most likely was saved by Captain America. And hopefully she eventually marries, but really nice guy.
Sousa was a really interesting character because I never expected him to. I don't know. Then again, it was one of those things where I expected him when he found out about Peggy. I always knew he was going to find out about Peggy's double crossings, but I just didn't expect him to react as harshly as he did and kind of almost become an antagonist for an episode or two.
Yeah.
Because right near the middle of the season, we got all those episodes where like he was the one zeroing in. It was straight up Dexter status.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really what I remember from him is just how interesting that relationship was in terms of like. Clearly he's got a thing for her. And, we don't know just how far it goes with her, in terms of feeling the affection the same way, of course, because throughout the whole series, she's kind of grasping with, with the lost emotions of Steve and everything like that. But I don't know. What's your take on Sousa?
Yeah, Sousa was always a great character. Just the idea, like, first of all, just the idea he would served in war, something they both definitely have in common. There's that, but also I love the fact there's this guy, the one guy in the SSR who like pays attention. The guy who knows, like, well, I know her SSR. Well, I served in literally the same outfit as her or not. I mean, I've heard her. I know all the great stuff she's done. She worked with Captain freaking America. This lady's awesome, and no one's picking up on this.
He's the only one in that department that gives that any sort of credence at all.
Everyone just has written her off as just like, oh, she's pretty much like the radio version of Peggy Betty Carver. They just write her off like, oh, she was the damsel in distress. That's all she was. But really, remember, first Avenger.
Help me, Captain America!
You got to remember, she was bursting in the windows, foiling the Red Skull along with the Howling Commandos at the end of the first Avenger. She was an integral part, Plus, she got him a shield at one point. They're really cool.
All right.
Anyway, so big point. Sousa was always a good character, and he's just it was interesting, like kind of that whole like he is also similarly to her. Kind of misperceived by people. People just view him as like damaged goods.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that was a good part of his arc.
Of course, Dooley had a grand arc too.
I love Dooley. I really wasn't into him in the first couple episodes. I was just kind of like, okay, this guy's sort of like the obligatory, just like chief guy who's gonna grill all our main characters and just be a dick. But Dooley went out. I definitely think Dooley's death was like the best death of that show.
One of the best things of Dooley, again, I always kind of praise it when we're talking about, is that Dooley is a guy who, he's married. He's got kids, and of course, if you're married, you realize the women really do a lot of. Pretty much, the women really own the relationship, especially when you have kids. Let's face it. And Dooley knows, like, a woman, I can't. If I mistreat, I'm an idiot. If I do this, he realizes, the sexism thing. He's not being exactly sexist. It's more like by the book he has to be sexist. It's more like he addresses, well, if I send a woman out there in the field, she'll get killed.
Talking about him in terms of like being almost a little bit like Bullock in terms of like, look, I have to go by the book, but that's just how it is. That's how I survive.
Exactly. It's like, I get in trouble if I send you out there, you get killed, or you get one of my men killed. Okay, look, I know you're probably capable of this, Picard, but I can't do it. My hands are tied, and I don't want to risk it, okay? Like, sure. This is how this action will be perceived. So again, he's a guy who, he gets it, but he just can't do it. So the idea of Dooley doesn't just instantly cut her out of things, just kind of a man of the times, or he gets it, though.
Yeah, he went through a really nice run.
Yeah, Thompson was the thick-headed one of the group. He had some...
Well, you know what? I think Thompson was probably, when all is said and done, I would say Thompson was probably my favorite out of all three of them.
Of course. I mean, yeah, Thompson had a good progression. He was kind of the cool interrogator guy, but then he did get results. But
that episode with him and the Howling Commandos, that was probably the best episode of the whole series, I'd wager to say.
They basically get to know Thompson. We'll know he's kind of he has a lot of, not, I guess, post-traumatic stress also, literally, because he was haunted by kind
Which
of...
is where his character really started to shine, was when he was put back into that kind of, back into that kind of environment. And we got to see, like, holy crap, because it's funny, because Thompson really literally just starts out as, like, this terrifying, badass, like, interrogator. You know what I mean? And he has, like, just kind of a clout about him. Like, he will humble your ass to get information out of you. And then to see the progress he goes through while him and Peggy, along with the Howling Commandos, do their thing. You know, I don't know. I just really love the way that Thompson just kind of progressed, and we really got, like, as the layers peeled back on him, we just got to know him more and more. And I will give mad props to Chad Michael freaking Murray for, like, proving me wrong in terms of, like, oh, it's Chad Michael Murray. It's like the soap opera guy. No. He does a really good role here with an appropriate amount of intimidation, an appropriate amount of humor, an appropriate amount of humanity. He was probably like one of my favorite characters on the show.
And it's kind of neat, just with kind of the guys of the SSR, how they always kind of looked to Dooley as kind of in a way, a father figure. And Thompson kind of took over Dooley's role towards the end there in terms of, like, it's funny when you think about it. You know, Thompson, he wrote Carter off because he genuinely thought she had nothing of value, but then he realized that, man, she really does have a lot of value. And it's kind of like, by the end, he's kind of like Dooley in the show, where he realizes, like, I realize, yeah, she is much more capable than we all give her credit for. But then at the end, though, he's kind of like shaking hands with the senator, the senator guys and everything, pretty much just realizing, well, I have to take the. No one will give the woman credit. So I mean, I might as well take the job. It's like him kind of playing the logic of that there, and he's not completely there yet. And the idea still remains that he may also be a contender for husband for her. But I'm still pulling for Sousa.
That's the one that I'm crossing my fingers for, BlueDragonFive.
Because, you know, opposites attract and such, but I'm still pulling for Sousa. That's me. I'm on the Sousa side.
No. I'm Team Thompson.
Okay,
anyway. We're gonna have to like design Twilight shirts now.
Oh God. Anyway, so also just this is real quick, Ricardo. You know, we see her kick a lot of tail in this series, and we root for her a lot of the time. You know, she's a lot of great action in that series, and just her doing it all.
Of course.
I mean, the really interesting thing with the characters that throughout the series is well placed. They kind of wish there was a little more of it, but then again, every moment was really cool. We have the radio reminder by the incomparable Ralph Garman, just kind of reminding us. It's so funny that Peggy Carter, she's just tormented by this radio show, gets the whole magic of First Avenger wrong time and time again of what exactly
Captain America, I'm helpless, save me.
I'm gonna punch Red Skull in the jaw. You know, it's like the most it's most ridiculous, most ridiculous stuff. And she's reminded of it too, is when she hears it on there. Of course, it parallels the stuff really awesomely. We've talked in excess about that. But the point is, you see, she truly does care for Captain America. She cares for like the honor and the memory of Captain America. It's just not being done justice on this radio show.
Of course, which is well represented in terms of the vial of blood. You want to talk about that? Because that was definitely one of the most significant elements of the series.
In a moment, but before we get to the vial of blood, just something I want to mention, just thinking about the whole how she cares for Captain America's legacy and everything, that her whole kind of big overall arc in the show was that she wanted that credit, just wanted like the recognition.
Yeah, sure.
She was capable. She wasn't just like a girl getting the coffee and stuff. And and throughout the shows, and like how we've seen kind of the cost of like, people have died, like her roommate, Krasinski, Dooley, people died because of her actions. She's felt really guilty.
Yeah, this show had a pretty steady death rate.
Yeah, and you see kind of like the risk of kind of.
To tell you the truth, now out of all the Marvel series that I've watched, like, well done, Jesus Christ, we finally found something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that kills people off and kills them for good.
Yeah, let's just say Daredevil.
Round of applause, because I just realized that just now.
Yeah, let's just say Daredevil. There's a lot of death in that.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but Carter came first.
True. You got a point. But still, what I'm saying is that the kind of like whole thing, her whole kind of battle for like she would like some credit, but then like of course like towards the end where she's kind of about to be founded, I think like she's kind of being faced with the Howard Stark stuff, like kind of all her work being for nothing, and then Howard Stark kind of betraying her with the blood vial, which you get to in one segment. But I think by the end of the show, she just comes to that kind of that full circle realization that I don't need the credit. Basically, hey, I'm doing the job. That's all it counts. And basically, she's been inspired by Captain America yet again, realizing that, it's about getting the job done. It's so funny. It kind of circles back to that moment where she inspired him when he was drawing the monkey. Remember when it was just like that moment of.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's kind of circling back to the moment of, hey, look, I'm doing a job. It's helping things. It may not be the most glamorous thing, but it's helping things. And Carter's kind of realizing that. Hey, I'll do the things on the side as long as it gets the job done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look if they don't appreciate me, that's fine. But as long as I'm doing the work and it's getting done right, I'm honoring Captain America. I'm honoring that lifestyle. I'm helping people.
Which I feel is a really good kind of like transitioning point into what she's going to do later in terms of forming Shield.
Oh yeah, of course. But let's talk about it's a big thing with the blood vial here. So again, one of the best things in the show, because again she has real deep ties to Steve Rogers. How can you not imagine that? Howard Stark has told a big lie here. So the Blitzkrieg button was a button, and in actuality is a vial. Was the last vial of Captain America's blood. Literally the last piece of her missing lover. The guy didn't even get a funeral, like of a body being buried. I mean, oh my God! Thankfully he's not dead. That's the reason why. But still, it's the fact that she had no mementos of this guy, because he disappeared. Not a word from him. Basically, the last remnants of her true love being used like that. She feels absolutely betrayed, and by the end of things, she gets it back as kind of a sign of trust by her pal Jarvis. And Jarvis even lifted it from Howard Stark. Howard Stark didn't even know. He did that for her because he, in that moment, would cry if I keep going, don't try and lower it down there. Just the fact that Jarvis gave her that blood vial, and she went to Brooklyn, the place where Steve Rogers went to the Brooklyn Bridge. Place where this little kid from Brooklyn grew up.
Perfect. Just absolutely perfect, like, imagery.
Just dumps the blood with that music playing.
Don't cry, BlueDragonFive. Don't cry.
Just the way the way you look tonight and just saying goodbye, my darling. Oh my God! Just the fact that it's like a full circle thing.
Thinking about it right now, yeah, it is pretty damn emotional.
Oh my God! It's like I'm fine. Just the point is, like, I love how just like. Like her arc kind of came full circle. Like it was the whole series is really about her kind of grieving over Steve Rogers and kind of coming to grips with that, like her usefulness, and like kind of realizing she's living to that Captain America example, and she made it in the end, and in the end she's moving on from that grief. She's feeling kind of living with the experience and living for the better in terms of she will go on to form Shield and whatnot. Moving on with that said.
Okay.
Down the line, after again, I'm not sure how the short works into the whole continuity they're laying out here.
Yeah, that's still kind of a mystery, right?
It's possible like she gets a new superior, and maybe that's how it runs. It was just kind of a backtrack thing, but again, live and learn. Essentially, she gets a call from Howard Stark saying, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking about forming Shield," and she says, "Okay," and basically she helps him form Shield like that, and also Colonel Phillips has a role in that.
Hell yeah, Colonel Phillips has a role in it.
Yes.
I'm not kissing you.
So pretty much, they all get the idea. Hey, let's build Shield. Hopefully, with the name in mind to honor Captain America. But then again, we're not going to get into that. We've talked about that already. With the Shield, and basically, they go on to form Shield. Big, massive organization. Has helped a lot of people. However, there's been evil rising within it, unbeknownst to them, because they've kind of, in terms of advancement, they'd had to hire some. It's like this old Manhattan Project type thing where you have like bad scientists on your team, and they kind of it ultimately will backfire. That's the main thing. Okay, let's start. Where do we pick up with her in Winter Soldier?
Okay, in Winter Soldier, well, we pick up on her literally, unfortunately, kind of like I wouldn't necessarily.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 1 second. I just remember there's the bit in Winter Soldier where we see Steve Rogers in the museum, and he's watching Peggy Carter, like I believe in the 50s. Speaking of how like Captain America, it's really tragic. She gives this grand speech about kind of what the Winter Soldier means, what it means to be Winter Soldier.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember that.
And then she mentions, and again, this makes me think that it might be Sousa, says, actually, Captain Rogers, he saved my eventual husband, when he freed this raid in the winter. And it's the idea.
There we go.
And again, he sees that it's like it's so sad for Steve Rogers seeing like, oh, she moved on with her life and I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I helped her, but still I kind of wanted to be with her. But so I love the fact that he gets a solace in that he gave her a happy ending in some way.
Of
That
course.
she got married. We can assume had kids because she has a niece. I don't know how that works.
Oh dear.
Point is, we see she moved on with her life. She's lived a full life, and at the end, we see after forming Shield and all that stuff, she's been unfortunately kind of turned into a relic, kind of like Captain America had over these fallen into obscurity to the point where she's just kind of alone in a hospital bed in a retirement home of some variety.
Yeah, it's very, very tragic. I mean, just considering, especially now, like knowing how kick-ass she was in Agent Carter adds even more just drama to that scene.
It's basically what is the opposite? What is the tragic opposite to Steve Rogers at this current point in his life? That would be a guy who's he's modernized with the times. He's lived, obviously, he's in his youth, but he's 90 years old. He didn't get to live that full life, but now he's here. But in the reverse, someone who's lived a full life, and unfortunately is at the point in their life where they have forgotten that. She has Alzheimer's. She's in bed. She has no memory. So she can't even experience these fresh memories like Steve is able to now.
Yeah, right. So it's like literally like pretty much she's not even recognizing that Steve is even there half the time.
And we can just imagine, just from this conversation, that they've had that dance, but she can never remember it again.
Man.
Imagine how many times.
Right in the feels. Right in the feels.
Imagine how many times Steve is just out of that moment of like guilt and not guilt, just that moment of just the sorrow and just kind of the pain he must feel. Because you got to imagine he's had to dance with her a few times. You got to imagine that. Just like because they made that promise to each other. It's like the whole. And it's like every time he does that, just the reminder of what could have been and what it's kind of the sad reality of things. And of course, just the fact that he talks to her, he consoles her. Like one of the best things in Winter Soldier that she kind of says, sometimes. Basically, we're all you did the right thing. You helped, you saved the world, Steve. Like she's given these words of comfort, and of course, kind of the parallel to the movies that it's all a lie in a way.
Mm-hmm. Sure, right.
And again, it's like she's getting her wish of, oh my God, and just that moment where she drinks the water and then she coughs and he gets her some water and she turns around, Steve, you're not frozen. Oh my gosh!
Oh man!
Just the realization on Captain America's face, and just the idea that she gets her wish, but it can never come true.
Shit. Yeah, that is pretty brutal.
And Age of Ultron. I guess we just want to speculate now, like what she might be in Age of Ultron. She's going to be in that movie.
Dead.
Well, because you told me that it looks like the reports are coming in that it's not going to be as grim. I'm going to say maybe old Peggy Carter doesn't die. I'm thinking maybe get a flashback to past in this one.
Oh, okay. So you think it's going to be a flashback with young Peggy Carter?
I'm convinced it's going to be like Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter at some sort of USO show. Like not USO in terms of like what he did, but like it's like a bunch of guys with MP helmets on, like a bunch of like military guys lining up.
I'm not sure, BlueDragonFive. I'm just not sure how a flashback would fit in with the story.
Well, look, all I'm saying is in the trailer we had that one shot of like they're back there. And we have a guy who kind of Steve Rogers' build, and I believe Peggy Carter's in the shot. I could be wrong.
Okay. I mean, if I were to take a guess, I would say we'd see more of old Peggy, and maybe old Peggy would transition into a flashback. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm still regardless. That means we would have kind of Peggy Carter in the past if it was a flashback. So.
No. But I'm saying like I think to get to the flashback, we need to see like old Peggy.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can get old Peggy, but I mean, I don't want her to die.
Sure.
And so I don't think.
No, okay. I'm not saying I'm not. I mean, obviously, that's not her only thing she can do is die. But I mean, like, let's face it. It's like it's getting to the point where literally, like, if you look at it, like. Pretty much all of the main Avengers have someone that might be killed off that would be tragic.
Yes.
So Thor has Jane Foster. Cap has Peggy Carter.
Tony has Pepper and Rhodey.
Yeah, Iron Man has Pepper and Rhodey. Hulk, it's a stretch, and I know that they're not going to freaking kill her off, but...
Betty
Black
Ross.
Widow.
Oh, Loki also. Yeah, Betty Ross kind of had the running. That's what I'm saying.
No, Betty Ross is like freaking Montoya. She's just dead.
However, just again, so I'm thinking, well, I think Steve could still flashback, and again, if he's in the flashback, then maybe that's why how she could be in there. I don't know.
I guess so.
Point
You
is,
got a point.
I'm just going off of that one image we got in the trailer. That's how I think it's going to be. Like, I think what it's going to be is that they're at a USO show and they're meeting Baron von Strucker, and somehow he's alive after all these years.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, anyway, so let's see. I guess we'll transition to Howard Stark here.
Howard Stark. Oh yes, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Oh, sorry. One thing. In between Winter Soldier would be a point. She's going to be in the Ant-Man movie too. So she.
Oh, that's true. So that'll be interesting to see.
We'll talk about that with Howard Stark because they're both going to be in that.
Fair enough.
Okay, so Howard Stark. He's kind of the precursor to Tony Stark. We see definitely, especially with his habits. You know, he's a big kind of playboy inventor. He's always building. We see kind of more. It's like more kind of like an innocent, almost a smidge more of an innocent Tony Stark. Like he's more idealistic than Tony.
It's Walt Disney.
Well, I mean, yeah, eventually he's going to turn full blown Walt Disney. However, you do see in Dominic Cooper.
He will.
But I mean, with the Walt Disney thing, you see kind of the Imagineering blood in him as the young Dominic Cooper Howard Stark. You know what I mean? He's just like has that.
Okay, yeah, but at the same time, the Dominic Cooper Howard Stark, he has definitely more of a playboy vibe to him.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when it gets down to the John Slattery version of Howard Stark, it's just like, okay, I'm going for Walt Disney now.
Yeah. You know, it's like he has this kind of that desire to innovate like Walt Disney, even as the younger version that kind of transitions like full like Disney towards the end of his life with John Slattery Disney. You know, he has like that just got spark of a young Disney as Howard Stark. You know, it's kind of neat. So the thing we see with Howard Stark kind of in the 40s, you know, he stumbles but ultimately does great work because, you know, we see like the things malfunction at first, but then they ultimately work out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, you know, remember he has the flying car, which we'll see years later. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does get refined. And also just with the repulsor technology in general gets refined instantly.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
of course,
it's really cool going back to the 40s in Captain America and just seeing like, yeah, this is Stark Expo. It's Stark Expo in the 40s, but it's still very much Stark Expo.
Well, technically, I think it's he gets inspired by that expo to start the Stark Expo because it's actually the World's Fair Expo type thing.
Oh, is it a World's Fair? Oh, okay.
It starts off as a World's Fair type thing, but then eventually that's why he creates a Stark Expo because he liked being.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So anyway, you know, with the kind of stumbling and falling thing, we see just he initially stumbles here, which kind of doesn't build Steve with enough confidence here. Just the fact that he finds that this guy's working on him. Oh wait, the guy who built the bum flying car. This guy's going to assist you in the rebirth process here.
In the immortal words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I have a bad feeling about this.
Okay, so just we see with kind of Howard Stark kind of in the 40s here, he's a big weapons contractor. He's contracted by a lot of people, and hence the reason he's kind of with the SSR's program here. And I like the idea that they kind of we see with Howard Stark, especially in Agent Carter, is that you get a sense he's a weapons contractor, a big weapons contractor, but he wants to do more creative things, which is why he's dabbling like flying cars and basically all this side stuff. He wants to create again, kind of with that Disney parallel here. Like he wants to create.
Well, okay, what was the thing that he was wanting to create in Iron Man 2? Because wasn't that like essentially like kind of like a version of Epcot?
Yeah, well, no, it is the Stark Expo. That's what he's creating.
Oh, Stark Expo. Okay. Still, I still feel like what he was trying to do with Stark Expo kind of mirrors some of the things that Walt Disney wanted to do with Epcot.
Exactly. Remember, well, it's kind of like actually it does exactly fit with Epcot because remember, it's all about innovation and creation. That's what the Expo is about.
Yeah, it's all about innovation. It's all about kind of like you know, teaming up with all the different like industrial companies of the world and coming together and you know, blah blah blah. I could get on a whole rant about Epcot.
Exactly, but you see what I mean, though. It's like he's like a guy obsessed, again, similar to how Tony Stark is years later. With kind of, I love how that kind of runs in the genes of they don't want to build weapons; they want to do creative things.
Sure,
they want to do non-weapon related things. And we see, you know, Howard Stark. He truly does care for people. He cares about the world's safety, which of course Tony will years later. Again, a lot of parallels here between these two Starks. And again, so he's contracted by the SSR for Project Rebirth to ultimately create Captain America, which again I'm sure has signaled to him, hey man, this is my chance to do something good, create something, not destroy something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like in that point in his career, he was probably just known as like, oh, the bomb guy.
Essentially, he's kind of the Frankenstein behind Captain America in a way.
Right.
In a way. And anyway, I love how he ultimately he doesn't view him as like a creation or science spirit. No, he befriends Cap. They have a little rocky start to be the whole fondue misunderstanding, but they become fast friends.
Oh God.
A fast trust develops, and I love how it's kind of written off quickly. Like, hey, fondue
is just bread and cheese, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. From that moment forward, they become pals. He makes him his shield. It's really, really nice. It makes him the outfit too. So again, Howard Stark, good pals. A lot of good respect between these two. Like years later,
we've talked like ad nauseum in this series about how that's going to go on to affect Howard's relationship.
Hello.
Yeah.
One more time. His relationship.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, like in the future, where like Howard having such devotion and affection for Captain America is going to definitely affect Iron Man's whole like sensibilities.
Oh yes, and again, kind of with that great. There's a little moment in Avengers where Steve Rogers is looking through the files and stuff, and he hears like what happened with Howard Stark. He cares about Howard Stark. Then he just finds out, oh man, he had a son. It's a good moment. So again, there's a lot of just kind of mutual respect. Okay, anyway, so afterwards. Now, I think it's important. It's very important rewatching First Avenger recently. It's kind of dawned on me. It's not like a new thing. It's kind of these subtleties here. He was inspired big time by the Tesseract, and it's funny. Like the moment where he plays around with the Tesseract, and like that giant explosion happens. He's just messing around. It's true. Like remember, he has this great line. He says, "Write that down." He blows him, literally blows him across the room. Like he drops like a bit of Tesseract energy. It was like boom across the room. Someone write that down.
Oh God.
Really funny. So I think that moment, literally, it's kind of like a boom, like the Doc Brown toilet moment. Of hey man, I've been inspired here. It's basically that inspires him to explore the energy field here, which again will lead us to Arc Reactor, which will save Tony's life.
Oh yeah.
So again, very nice. Those Infinity Gems, big impact on the Marvel Universe. But and also we see Howard Stark can ultimately do a lot. He's kind of the go-to. He's like the Lucius Fox to Captain America. Build him all the stuff, all the cool stuff he needs. And one of the best things he built for him is his awesome motorcycle.
And his shield. Don't forget the shield.
Well, shield was earlier. Well, we know he built the shield. Yeah, it's a historic fact.
Sure.
So we see and we see at the end of it, after Cap goes on ice, he's searching tirelessly for Captain America, and we're going to get to the dark implications of that when we get to Agent Carter in just one moment. Ultimately, he finds a cube. He finds the cosmic cube, which is kind of the thing that kind of sparks more exploration to the energy field here. But still, he keeps on looking for Cap because that's his pal, and he wants to find him. He's not giving up.
Indeed.
But again, he finds that cube, which is going to spark a whole lot of trouble years later.
Okay.
So we're in Agent Carter. So Howard Stark is being framed, and I call it McCarthy style because he's in front of the Senate, much like Tony is years later in Iron Man 2, and he's saying, "Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?" Well, I can't answer that. Basically, I can't answer without saying. I can't acknowledge it without knowing it. Type deal. Real funny. So basically,
it's a really good way to kind of just get him back into the show in terms of like, well, he's under scrutiny, and so there's a really big plot point developing with him, but he's still kind of his perky, funny self.
Exactly, and again, the big thing here, he's masking on the surface with just kind of humor. Of course, it really is buggy, which we see towards the end of the show, really, dark implications that he just really eats away at him. And with that, just the concept here, where it's going to relate big time to years later, is that Stark weapons falling into the wrong hands. It's a really kind of sore spot within the Stark lineage.
Sure.
And of course, something interesting here, I think is really important in thinking about Age of Ultron here. He calls his misfired inventions, the inventions he intended to either dismantle or either safely dismantle or most likely just kind of retool until he can find like a new use for them. The bad babies.
The bad babies.
Now, I'm thinking about this, Tiki. Maybe there might be a bit of symbol. I might be stretching with this, but bad babies being the specific word here, might kind of hint at like Ultron is Tony Stark's baby in a way.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out for sure. That's definitely something I'm going to be looking into in terms of like, that parallel with Howard Stark having like technology that eventually went wrong.
And of course, the big thing with the Bad Baby is just it's a theme of consequence. I mean, there's a consequence
Exactly.
for this evolution. There are consequences surrounding all of this. I mean, Vanko is one of his close associates, and I'm sure Vanko might be inspired. Anton Vanko might be inspired by a lot of these energy related things. Of course, remember he co-creates the arc reactor with him, so this is important.
Mm-hmm.
To the point is, like Vanko's being brought into him because of these bad babies. Like he's getting into the fray of like seeing the dangerous applications of these things, which will lead to a rift, which will lead to whiplash years down the line. But they're the big thing these bad babies lead to really haunts Howard Stark is that it takes the humor away when he really stews on this. Innocent people are dying because of his weapons. Like the gas in the end of Agent Carter. Oh my God, horrific implications there. The rage gas. And of course, big thing is he kind of created Leviathan, or at least a big faction of Leviathan, to our knowledge, Dr. Faustus, because he just that the chemical fell into the wrong hands and was used to literally have people tear each other apart. And Faustus,
that ending in the movie theater was definitely like I don't know, that was one of the more memorable things in the whole show, I'd say.
Yeah, you got to remember all those. You remember all the people that died in this show. It's a result of Faustus ultimately, which is a result of Howard Stark.
Sure.
Which is tragic. It is. So again, there's in terms of consequence being kind of a running theme with Howard Stark here because of these bad days and weapons falling to the wrong hand. There's also kind of a consequence to Howard's lifestyle. He think about it. In Agent Carter, he's taking advantage of his lifestyle has made him very vulnerable, which again is kind of a running thing with Tony Stark also, vulnerability. He's very vulnerable because he gets taken advantage of very easily. He has no security. Apparently, he has a really flawed security system because, again, a woman walks in. He's a ladies' man, using that as his kryptonite. She charms her seemingly, and she steals all his weapons. And really, he never thought of this, and that's why it happened. His lifestyle just made him too cocky, and that's why he's.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Seriously, no pun intended. But it's there's basically all this stuff stolen because he's so naive to think, well, why would anyone do that?
What was that?
Yeah, what was that? And also another thing with Howard Stark. This is interesting. This is the big delineation between him and Tony. In Agent Carter, we see Howard Stark keep secrets.
Right.
Tony Stark is the opposite of it. Tony Stark will lay everything on the table. Of course, I am Iron Man. Look, here's all Fury's little secrets. He is the spy. Tony Stark will tell you everything. This shows you, like, Tony Stark has to draw a line somewhere, because, again, I'm sure he doesn't like the secrets his father's keeping, or just the favoritism towards Captain America also, but still, the secrets nonetheless. It's basically, this also, his secrets kind of lead to a rift and a distrust between him and Peggy Carter, but eventually will come out okay at the end of the day, but still, it's a big old rift because of that vial of Steve Rogers' blood.
Oh, yeah, she's not happy about that at first, for sure.
Towards the end with Howard Stark, I love the dimension that was added to his character in the show. Like, he has so much guilt about not bringing Captain America home.
Mm-hmm.
We see in that great scene where it's so sad and hopeful, where like he's hypnotized by Dr. Faustus. He's heading there, and he thinks it's so sad. He thinks he's in his dream like state where he's going to say
Captain America. I have the captain. I'm bringing him home.
In reality, he's going to deliver a toxin that's going to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, that was a really good moment of acting too.
Oh, it's just the hope in his eyes. Like, I'm gonna do it. I didn't bring Cap home. I failed, but I'm gonna do it this time, Peg. I'm gonna do it.
Oh man.
And then it ultimately also lead up to that point too. He's cleared of all his charges in kind of a clever Tony Stark-ish way of like just basically making. Think about it. It's the exact same way Iron Man 2 ended. He got the guy who's kind of condemning him to just kind of give him a glowing review in some way.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Tony Stark, who's a national treasure, and saying Howard Stark, he's very clever. It's all been part of a SHIELD, an SSR cover operation. He's cleared of all his charges.
Mm-hmm.
Here's that sense of ego. Yeah. Then ultimately, again, just he, Colonel Phillips, and Peggy Carter, they eventually found SHIELD together.
Yeah, then they end, and then he ends up becoming Walt Disney, and then we'll see Walt Disney and Ant-Man.
Well, yeah, with that, just kind of bridging it. So Ant-Man, from what I understand, we're gonna be in the Cold War. At least I've read the tie-in comic for this. We're in the Cold War, and we see him working with Peggy Carter and Hank Pym, and I believe the idea here is kind of interesting. They're working on a shrinkable soldier, which is the Ant-Man suit, obviously.
Sure.
And it's kind of makes sense. I mean, it's kind of interesting because they worked on the super soldier, and obviously they don't want to they can't replicate that, so they're kind of going a different route with making another kind of soldier, but kind of a shrinkable soldier. And that's kind of an interesting notion to go there, especially for the Cold War, which is all that kind of infiltration and spy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So cool ideas there. So we're going to see kind of an aged Howard Stark and Peggy Carter, which will give us which will give us Walt Disney.
Have we ever seen John Slattery interact with Peggy Carter?
No, this will be the first time.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, so let's talk about Iron Man 2, kind of just kind of our Walt Disney-ish, more Walt Disney-ish Howard Stark, just kind of the John Slattery Howard Stark. So
well, I mean, what can I say? I'm just going to bring up a bunch of Epcot references.
Well, definitely, Epcot. He's definitely more of a Disney.
Epcot.
He's more of a Disney type. One of my favorite parts of that movie is just kind of that with that. I believe it's John Powell's score, I think. But it's that. Oh, John Debney. Sorry, it's John Debney. I love that that score playing. It was this kind of this classic Epcot kind of Walt Disney-ish, in progress video with the kind of like the world.
The whole movie literally kind of takes place within this like Epcot World's Fair type setting.
Yeah, the world of the future, like the world of tomorrow's today. I love the idea. Again, it's such a brilliant idea.
Classic like Sherman Brothers ditty.
Yeah, and you would never think of you would never have thought to put this into a Marvel movie. But hey, let's make Tony's dad Walt Disney. Why not? Seriously, basically,
we're owned by Disney now, so yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's some brilliant. Never thought the guy who's innovating, the guy who's creating, and we're in an expo of some sort. So why not? And it's like this classic. They basically, for Howard Stark, and especially for this version of Howard Stark, they combined Howard Hughes and Walt Disney essentially.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
We see more Howard Hughes in the 40s version. We see more Disney in this version, but it's just the idea that he's distanced himself from the weapons, really to focus on the future. That's his big. So after like all the trauma he went through with all the stuff in World War II onwards, he's just, I'm done with the weapons. Let's just focus on kind of the bright spots of the future, the energy sources, like what can happen next. And it's interesting thinking of legacy here of like, I'm not going to be around forever. I'm going to make sure the world's in a good place when I'm gone.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, it definitely relates to Tony Stark. Ultimately, him realizing, my greatest creation is my son, which is a beautiful moment. But again, also I want to point this out. It's like the happy accidents of the cinematic universe here. But I love rewatching Iron Man 2, seeing John Slatter's performance because it does. I do buy the way he plays it. It meshes in so perfectly with Dominic Cooper's Howard Stark because I get a sense of like a more withered version of.
When I first saw Captain America, I honestly didn't even notice that they changed actors.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Huh.
I mean, I was younger, probably a little dumber, but whatever.
Yeah, but you get a sense of like he sounds like basically in the scenes where he's talking to the camera to Tony Stark, he sounds exactly like Dominic Cooper. Howard Stark just kind of saying, you are my greatest creation. I can hear like kind of the young guy underneath all this kind of this aged kind of like wisdom he's laying out here. I can hear the young idealistic Howard Stark coming through because we see him kind of go through some trying times up to that point. Like we see kind of the alcoholism trait within the Stark's genetic code kind of come out here. He's drinking a lot in the thing. He's like, he's a lot of bloopers and stuff. It just, we also get a sense just kind of going into Avengers also is like he's obsessed with Captain America.
Right, and as I said before, I definitely think that kind of takes a toll on Tony when he's confronted with Cap himself.
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking just the combination of Captain America and maybe just the inspiration, really, what Cap was kind of represent. I'm thinking in Howard Stark's advancing age, he realized that, Captain America was really an innovative thing. And like maybe with the Ant-Man project, that was like another step along the way. Like, let's innovate, just a constant spiraling of like, we got to keep building and building. It's getting wrapped up in his own work and distance from his son even further, leading him to be kind of an absentee father. You're like, Maria, get in here, get the kid out of here, that sort of thing. Maria Stark.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was pretty sad.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, at the end, it's such a moving thing that at the end of the day, he realizes at the moment of the camera, he's just saying, well, basically he has faith in his son, saying, Tony, I know you'll figure this out, Tony, because you're smart. Out of all my creations, like basically you are and
Tony, you
always
will
will be.
build Disney World.
Oh, if only, Tiki. But still, just saying, you are and you always will be my greatest creation. Oh my God!
Oh dear. Oh dear.
You know what I mean?
Okay, is that it for
Age of
him?
Ultron. I'm thinking, if anything, we're going to go with Howard Stark and Age of Ultron. It might be kind of like I'm just hoping, at the very least, we get like a mention that Hank Pym kind of founded the Ultron project, at least the idea of the project.
Right.
And
I doubt we're going to see either John Flattery or Dominic Cooper.
Oh, of course not. But I'm saying maybe there's a ref. I would like a reference to the fact maybe Howard Stark and Hank Pym designed the Ultron plan.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Okay.
Kind of neat. Okay, let's talk about the big star of one of our big stars of Age of Ultron, Jarvis, but back in the 40s.
All right. Yeah, and it's just getting to the point where like we have to kind of wrap all this stuff up in 15 minutes, so we really have to do the Cliff Notes version here. So,
okay, so basically Jarvis, awesome butler.
Oh yeah. Awesome butler, awesome husband, who has an awesome wife who we never see.
Anna.
Indeed.
So
what I like about this guy is just, like throughout this series, he kind of develops into more of a badass as it goes along.
Oh, yeah.
And, in the first few episodes, like I like how I really feel like the season as a whole kind of has a really nice sort of like first half and second half, with the first more and then the second. I really feel like those two like kind of stand on their own really well. First 4 episodes, Jarvis is very much, very timid. He's like, what have I gone into this?
You're coming in Ultron, Tiki.
Okay. Well, just keep going with Ultron and I'll refresh.
Right.
Keep going with Jarvis. I'm sorry.
So something I really like with Jarvis here is I love his bond with Howard Stark, and it's really kind of a really cool story. Just it's the idea that's kind of been established here that they're good pals. They knew each other back in World War II, maybe a little bit before then. I can't quite recall, but basically, story between these men is basically he knew Jarvis. He was a good guy, and Jarvis saved his wife, who was Jewish, from the Nazis. Pretty much, he basically snuck a letter transit out from a really stubborn general who wouldn't give him one, so he get his wife out of there. And it's funny, they were in Budapest, by the way. Again, Budapest is
were they?
Seriously, Budapest is the reoccurring thing. Isn't that expanded unit in the tie-in stuff for Nick Fury? It was in Budapest, with obviously in Avengers, Budapest, big place. And here, Budapest again. Budapest is everywhere.
Okay, look, all I'm saying is that now I want to see a freaking, a crossover with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Grand Budapest Hotel. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's
that needs to happen.
And there's kind of a reference to them, kind of Jarvis. Again, Jarvis and his wife. They stay at a hotel in Budapest. Seriously, I think.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. It's all a conspiracy, BlueDragonFive.
Anyway, so basically, Jarvis he forges a letter of transit so he can get his wife out of there before Nazis get her. Unfortunately, he's caught, but thankfully Howard Stark he swoops and saves the day. Unfortunately, still earning Jarvis a dishonorable discharge, but thankfully, indebted and good pals with Stark ever since. And I love the little touch he lives on Howard Stark's premises. So we talked
a lot about that. Yeah, how it's like he just has like that little nice, comfortable little house on the premises.
Yeah, it's very nice. His wife, I'm assuming his wife is like a spice garden of some kind or something.
Oh yeah, she does.
Okay, this is important. This is like a real quick, I'm going to boil this down here. Is that with there's actually some interesting ties, such just bridging us to how he connects with Tony Stark, a young Tony Stark here. So Jarvis, when he's still flesh and blood here,
of course.
So basically, he was a father figure to Tony, given how distant Howard was being, and how also at this point in time, I'm probably due to the alcoholism, I'm sure, but also probably due to maybe Vanko getting on his nerves. Howard Stark, at towards the end of his life here, he's suffering from a lot of outbursts. Like he would be kind of like just saying.
Sure.
He would yell. He just kind of like, Tony, get out of here, that sort of thing. He'd be like a little absentee father. We got a glimpse of that in Iron Man 2. And basically, basically Jarvis kind of offers some like Alfred-like words of wisdom, just saying, "Oh, so you can't pay too much attention to his outburst," And this is really neat, the old neat touch here that Tony, as a kid, he would brush Jarvis off like he does all the time currently as Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like Jarvis always gives him like the smart advice, and just Tony just never mind, like mute. Just so it's so
God.
And it's funny. So basically, so then after Howard Stark and Howard and Maria Stark, they eventually die in a car crash. Jarvis raised Tony Stark. It's another big reason they bonded, because Jarvis.
Yeah, I figured that was the case, right?
And again, it's just they become just really close to each other. And that's why Jarvis. That's why Jarvis was so important to him growing up. That he was just that inspiring figure that deserved, being the artificial intelligence.
Of course.
And by the way, in case you're wondering, we only mentioned this once, just in case anyone's wondering what Jarvis stands for, it stands for not just for the name, but Tony made into an acronym too, because it's kind of funny. It stands for Just Another Really Intelligent System.
Just another really intelligent system.
It's kind of nice when
that's beautiful.
It's kind of nice when you think about it. It's just kind of like him saying, "Hey, Jarvis is an intelligent guy. It's another intelligent system."
That's great. That's great.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about in excess like what we think might happen to Jarvis with
yeah, and considering how many spoilers are out there surrounding him, I just kind of don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, all I'm saying like is chance he might be like the Ultron program might be his programming corrupted, or he just like he gets off like Ultron does something bad to him and they becomes a Vision. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm
All right, really quick, go through our lineup of the Howling Commandos.
Okay, so Commandos. I guess let's talk about Dum Dum Dugan here again. He's our lovable lug. He's won over by cigars and bourbon. Bye. He's a good man. We love this guy. He's wonderfully played by Neil McDougall. Really, really fantastic. I know I'm butchering his last name. I feel bad for that, but he's a really great actor.
And I can't get over the fact that he reminds me just so much of Abraham Ford from The Walking Dead. I can't get over it.
Yeah, there's always something admirable that guy who wears a bowler hat and wears a mustache. That cool. So pretty much also
it's called a bowler hat. The reason they had is what are they called, a bowler hat, Peggy?
Yeah, really, really funny. Also, he's a lovable guy. He's bonded really close to Howard and Peggy Carter. Of course, Captain America's basically in a nutshell, all the Howling Commanders, they were broken out of a Hydra captivity by Captain America, and they followed him ever since. In a nutshell, they helped them. Again, they helped them up to the end.
Captain America's Captain America's first.
Hello. And Ultron really hates you tonight.
Captain America.
Yeah. Captain America eventually bails them out.
No, I'm saying that was his first real mission, right?
Yeah, that was his first real mission. Seriously, Ultron must really hate you this time. You're really coming in bad. But anyway, so
baby boy. Hey, BlueDragonFive.
Yeah.
BlueDragonFive.
Yeah.
Can you paint with all of the wind? Okay, I'm done.
Anyway, well, I guess you attend to that. It's basically what's implied is after they help foil the Red Skull. So after they help foil the Red Skull, essentially his last mission was called the 084 mission. Pretty much, Peggy Carter's last mission on the job. They helped her out, just basically packaging up all the Hydra weapons, which would show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. later on. We've seen Agent Carter, she helps her out on a mission with the whole Leviathan stuff. We talk in excess about it. Calls her Miss Union Jack. Pretty funny. And I mentioned the only kind of tie and stuff furthering with Dum Dugan is he worked with Fury on a mission. Fury brought him cigars.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to quickly name off the other Howling Commanders. They're all really cool. The comics kind of flesh them out a little more than the movies do. But there's Gabe Jones, who I'm convinced is Agent Tripp's grandpa. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans will get that. There's James Montgomery Fallsworth. He's kind of our cool, kind of British humorous guy from the movie. There's Jim Morita. He's our Japanese guy from Fresno, California. He's always pretty cool.
Gotcha.
We got Jacques Deniver. He's our French explosives expert. We got Junior Juniper. He's the guy that names everyone. He was also the first notable death in the Marvel Comics. We got Pinky Pinkerton and Happy Sam Sawyer, who we saw in Agent Carter, just kind of there. pretty much.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And those are our Howling Commandos. Our lovable Howling Commandos is kind of cool. Is these guys always kind of being there on the missions and doing good work, and you can have a show about them perhaps, and hopefully
yeah, that's my last shot about it. It's just give them a show. They deserve it.
So last figure to kind of highlight here would be well, last two figures. You're going to take us through one of them, but let's take us through them.
Okay, well, Colonel Phillips is basically the skeptic of Captain America. In the whole accent, probably not right. But you get what I'm saying. Like when Captain America, when Steve Rogers, Terry Bates, he's just like, he's too skinny. You know, he's just like really. And of course, the moment that pulls it around for Phillips is when he, he does that trick. And Cap just totally shows his heroism by just diving on it. And from that point forward, I totally think that Phillips is kind of on Cap's.
Oh, jeez, man, Ultron really, it's so funny. We're coming close to the end of this thing. Ultron's just issuing all that attack on us. You know, it's hilarious.
Okay, well, I'm going to refresh, so why don't you, take us through some of it?
Sure, I'll finish with Phillips. So the thing with Phillips, interesting enough, he just at first he's really harsh against Captain America, but I think ultimately he really gets on his side when Captain America, he brings home all the soldiers in a really kind of heroic fashion. He's willing to express himself, play by the rules, everything, and he just proves his merit as a captain because Phillips is always kind of riding him, saying, well, he's a science experiment, he's not a real soldier. And of course, that moment proving his merit. And ultimately, Phillips gets a lot of awesome bits. Really, he's giving Zola some dinner, interrogating them, a lot of great stuff. I'm not kissing him towards the end of the action moment. A lot of good stuff there with Phillips. Hello. And he's frozen. Darn it.
Yeah, I just was frozen, and now I'm not frozen.
Right. Anything
you know what that means, BlueDragonFive?
Don't.
I was frozen today.
Anyway, so basically, Colonel Phillips, he's a neat character. He had a good progression area. He ultimately was there for Cap at the end of the day when he was on his last mission. He literally drove him to his grand heroic feat in the end there, and also he kind of helped found S.H.I.E.L.D. with Agent Carter.
And he is not kissing Cap. That's one thing that we know for sure. I'm not kissing you.
Yeah. Okay, so last kind of big name here, kind of from the villain side of things. You're just going to name this one guy because he's very important. Armin Zola. So Armin Zola. So this guy's actually, upon further digging, he was really just he was with the Red Skull from the start in a way. He was a Swiss scientist. He joined the Nazis, and he's less sympathetic, more cowardly than anything. He's the guy who's he's just trying to get ahead by any stretch here. He knows he can be killed at any time. That's why he's just all sniveling and conniving a lot of the time.
I mean, there's definitely characters like this in terms of spy movies, kind of like the sniveling henchman to the James Bond villain and stuff like that.
He's the Red Skull's version of Smee.
Right. But I think that he does it so much better. He's a lot more interesting than a lot of those people.
Yeah, you see this guy's genuinely scared of the Red Skull. He knows if he steps out of line, he's dead.
Exactly.
So this guy's very, very smart. So a big thing kind of drew the Red Skull to him is that he developed battle suits, which is basically the equipment we see those guys in, kind of not the Iron Man suits, but the Hydra suits with metal on them, with the flamethrowers and stuff.
Oh yeah, right.
That's all Zola. Obviously, Zola just developed all the Hydra weaponry, but that was his big claim to fame. Those exosuits. So again, Zola was the pre-Iron Man actually.
Okay.
In a way, so Zola is a brilliant man. We can't take that away from him. I
mean, when you consider where he ends up in Winter Soldier, that makes a lot of sense.
Of course, that's the thing. Zola is truly a brilliant guy. You can't underestimate that. He's not just he weaponized the cube. No, he did a lot of cool stuff before that too. And here's actually cool bit of background I found I didn't know about. He actually helped out with the Super Soldier program when Erskine was on the Red Skull side for a brief bit. So the idea is he was there when Erskine. Basically, he was the Howard Stark in the situation that kind of gave Red Skull's power. He injected him with the thing, probably that gave him some Vita waves or something.
So he was basically like the Nazi Germany equivalent of Howard Stark.
Exactly. Yes, and
that's very dangerous and fascinating.
Yeah, and here's something really interesting too. Is like afterwards, after obviously Red Skull, he finds out when Johann Schmidt finds out he has a giant red skull for a head. Now he's not going to be happy with that, so he ordered that Erskine be killed. And here's the cool scene that Zola broke the news. Broke the news to him. I'm thinking Skull now. I don't know what's wrong with me. He broke
I want a skull right here with a jester's hat and then a bunch of haws.
No, but seriously, like it just shows you how much of a cowardly guy who, if he has any little bit of power, you see how kind of truly evil he is. Like he gloats.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Ernstkin basically also saying to him, like, your family's dead. How does it feel knowing your family's dead? Because you're kind of a Yinsen parallel there.
I would say he's kind of ruthless villains that we've had, just in terms of just not giving a fuck.
Yeah, it's like Zola's the guy breaking the news to him that, hey, listen, you screwed up, saying, hey, you're dead, and I'm gonna enjoy it because I'm safe now. I played it smart. You screwed up, buddy. And then there's actually a really cool bit of background here. I found that the Peggy Carter, she broke out Dr. Erskine. That's why he was on the shield side. So she on the SSR side. She saved him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Really nice. And again, we just see how cowardly Zola is, and he developed the Cube's weaponry. That was his big claim to fame, and of course, ramifications later on, years later, the Hydra weapons. Let's see. So ultimately, at the end of First Avenger, after he defects over dinner with Colonel Phillips.
Oh my god, I love that scene so much.
Yeah,
it
is an awesome scene. But after that, he's
dinner. I just love the genuineness of Tommy Lee Jones. Like, I bought you dinner.
I love the way Toby Jones says his target is everywhere. I love the way he says that. Anyway, so basically, he's from that point forward, it's kind of like a Manhattan Project type deal. They kind of recruit some Nazi scientists, where like a Shield, when it's developing after it's been founded, they recruit him, and at some point, he's sick and dying, so they basically harvest all the knowledge and all his brain, so they can still use it years later, put it onto a bunch, like a whole slew of data banks.
Not a great idea in retrospect.
No, but they didn't know like how far ahead, how truly evil. Again, this guy, he played Sniveling Coward so well, they never really thought that much of him, I guess.
That's really kind of what makes him scarier than anything, is just the fact that he does such a good job of just blending and making sure that he's not going to be someone that people are going to be threatened by at all. We
saw in Agent Carter, just the little tease we got in Agent Carter, that he's cooking up some stuff with Dr. Faustus on the side there. So he's got a whole lot of plans, this guy. And it's the idea when he's dying, he knows he's going to put his brain on the miles and miles of data banks. He's going to have like a grand scheme laid out here, and that grand scheme is the algorithm, an artificial intelligence that it can respond to questions. It's not just memory. It's like literally he's worked up a system that can anticipate everything. And with that, he has the Zola algorithm, which can target people and just predict how they're going to turn out and whether they kill him or not. That's scary stuff. And eventually, he's willing to blow himself up, and he's taking this just grand solace in the fact that, hey, I'm killing Captain America while I'm gloating at him here.
I'm going to kill you now, Captain.
The answer to your question is quite fascinating, but unfortunately you won't be alive long enough to hear it. Captain, we are both similarly out of time. Awesome. Hopefully, I'm hoping he comes back. I'm hoping part of me is really hoping they kind of go full force with him, maybe bring him back and like do the classic, the body with the little remote camera head. It's not just like a computer bank, maybe it's actual body.
Right. At
the very least, I hope like someone saves something so we can have him back in some way, because he's awesome.
In some way.
And even Toby Jones doesn't even have to come in and do the role. He just has like literally the camera in front of his face while he's doing some lines.
All right, I will deliver these creepy lines of dialogue. Yeah, there you go.
Do we have how much time we got? Do I have like 5 minutes?
Not much.
Do I have 5 minutes?
What do you want to cover?
I want to talk about Whitehall real quick.
About what?
Whitehall. It's a character we kept cutting out. I could never tell you about.
Okay, go for it, really quick.
Okay, really quick. Whitehall is a big character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who may definitely impact Age of Ultron. He is essentially he was a guy back at the end of the war where he found Red Skull got killed. He was essentially, this guy was kind of the hero of Hydra after Red Skull died. This guy, he was the psychotic, sadistic Nazi doctor of Hydra. People loved this guy in Hydra. He was the big, people idolized this man. He was specified in horrible surgical methods, mind control. The issue was, though, he was aging and he lived a long time. He was arrested he was put in the Shield prison put in an SSR prison by Peggy Carter, so he aged years and years a year later. But then when they find out like the whole Shield thing of like Shield being compromised by Hydra, he was eventually released, but he aged all this time. And one of his big claims to fame, he used the thing we mentioned previously, the diviner. He used that to weed out people who were Inhumans, and
exactly.
he used that. He used that to weed out Inhumans. Eventually, when he found one. Yeah, when he found one, he was going to. He basically cut her open years later as like an old man. He's been waiting in prison all this time, knowing that this is the girl, and he found that she's still alive and she hasn't aged today. He says, "You're the one." He cut her open, harvested all her organs and everything, and basically used it to make himself a young guy again. Basically, give himself kind of eternal youth. And they just chucks her outside where another character. Let's just call him. His name's Mr. Hyde. Basically, Mr. Hyde just kind of pieces her back together, and then she's alive because she's an Inhuman. But still, just the idea he horrifically ripped her open and everything, killed her, and then she's back alive because the fast acting of her husband is sewing her back together. But still, horrific. This guy was a monster. This Dr. Whitehall. Eventually, he gets killed by Coulson because he's a monster. And the big kind of cool thing, the two cool things lingering from this is that. Whitehall, Mr. Hyde, he had such anger because again he had to literally stitch his wife back together, and he planned his revenge for years against this guy. And Coulson took it away from him, so Mr. Hyde wants to kill Coulson because he took his revenge away for this. That's one of the big things lingering. The other big thing lingering is that the Hydra. They've really emphasized that Hydra loved this guy, and they really miss that he's gone. I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this guy is either. A mentor is either going to be like a mentor to Baron von Strucker, or maybe maybe Baron von Strucker used a similar process that Whitehall instituted. Maybe that's why Baron von Strucker could have lasted since the 40s onward. We don't know how old we don't know if he's been around since the 40s or not. He just looks like he's from the 40s. We don't know yet. And with that, I'm going to share with you his terrifying quote. His terrifying quote is discovery. Like he would say this to that poor girl before he cut her open. He says, "Discovery. Sometimes discovery requires experimentation."
Yikes!
Yeah, this guy is a really creepy guy. Really creepy guy. So just on that ominous.
There's a chance that he's definitely going to show up in Age of Ultron.
Whitehall, no. I think his method might be employed for why Baron Strucker might be around. At the very least, it might be why this Baron Strucker has sadistic methods, perhaps.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
So on that dark thought, just kind of going into kind of the big booming thing is Age of Ultron. So I mean, we've come a long way, folks. We've come a very long way with all our characters here, but especially kind of looking at how truly far it does stem back. Oh yeah, other way, other way.
What? No, it's not the other way. No, it's not the other way. Oh,
sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's not close. That's why it's there. You're right.
It's coming. It's coming.
That's right, folks. It's coming. So seriously,
it's coming. All right.
So what do you think about our progression, Tiki, here from the 40s to the point we're going into?
Well, I thought it was a fun ride. I learned a lot of stuff that I hadn't previously known. Definitely, I'll admit that the few episodes, like the Nick Fury episode, I could have done a little bit more research beforehand. But, I thought we had a really good kind of systematic discussion going through and seeing how all these great characters are going to influence all these incredible movies going forward. It was a fun time.
Yeah, it is. It's endlessly fascinating just seeing how our characters have evolved with all these great writers and directors working on just that Marvel method of film in effect here, and just it's paid off so well. We've come such a long way, and hopefully, hope upon hopes that Age of Ultron will deliver yet another great Marvel film. I mean, Marvel's last two films just blown us away. Just pretty much every second was fantastic. At least in my opinion, every second of those last two movies was fantastic. The point is, really great stuff.
I'm actually taking my dad to see Avengers, and this is going to be the first time that he will be, in a movie theater since I'm pretty sure, I don't know, maybe Dark Knight, you know, roughly.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. I'm doing kind of a similar thing with my father.
Funny, that's funny. Then we can compare others, like
Right.
Oh god.
You know,
So,
it's
yeah.
fun. It's good.
Anyways,
It's like a movie that embodies fatherhood too, like Tony and Ultron.
so yeah, Blue Dragon 5, do you want to kind of hype up what we're gonna do tomorrow night because we're staying up?
Sure. So, folks, you know, the day is upon us. That age of Ultron is upon us. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna talk about it. You know, we're gonna we're gonna give you like initial gut reactions to this thing. It's a no holds bar. There are gonna be spoilers because how can we not? We've been waiting for so long. We've taken.
Do not watch that video if you don't want spoilers at all.
The rest assured, folks, we'll be going in depth at some point down the line. But still, you know, with this, we gotta just get it out there because we've been building up so far here. We're off the walls. We're bouncing off the walls with excitement. You know, Ultron is here. It's a huge deal, man. Armies of metal men raining from the sky. It's gonna be huge.
Oh yeah.
Dawn of a new age.
Yeah.
We're going into phase 3. Dawn of a new age into phase 3. It's gonna be big, folks.
So yeah, I've got my team. All right, Blue Dragon 5, you think we're done with this? You think we've reached the end of the road?
It's been a wild ride, folks. It's been so fun, and we're at the end of the road to Ultron.
All right. Well, that's all for now. Until we didn't have anything worked out for final episode, did we?
Well, until how many hours, Tiki?
Until let's see. Okay. I'm gonna round it up to midnight now, so 17 hours.
Till approximately
roughly 17 and a half hours.
Until roughly 17 and a half hours, folks. But don't you cry over your Captain America trading cards just yet.
After all, the dawn upon us, an age of marvels.
I've got no strings to hold me down. Dun 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 dun.
I've got no strings on me.
Shawarma 2.0.
I made you dinner.